Hi everyone. Can all of you hear me? Am I audible? Just type yes in the public chat if you can hear me properly. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. Hey Rahul. Hey Anushka. Hi Purti. Hope everyone is doing well. Okay. So let us start with this live session. So I'll quickly talk about what we're going to do in this session. Since you've already have had a look at the thumbnail, we are going to talk about speaking module today, especially part three. So let's start with an overview. I'll wait for a couple of seconds so that we have more students because we're expecting some more students joining in. We'll start in a few seconds. Till then, let me quickly tell you what we're going to do in today's session. So we'll talk about what is speaking test. I'll quickly give you an overview of the IELTS speaking test, and then we're going to talk about what kind of questions the examiner will ask you in part three. Okay, so let's start with it. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Rahil Zafar, and I have been training students on IELTS for almost 6 years now. I am one of the faculty members at Leverage IELTS. We are a team of experts, who have been helping students get their desired band score. We've got a lot of videos uploaded on this YouTube channel, so you can watch this space whenever you get time and yeah, get some tips and tricks for free, and of course you're going to benefit a lot from these live sessions. So just make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you keep getting updates from our side. Okay, so let's talk about let's first talk about the speaking test. Speaking module is where they're going to check your speaking skills, and this particular module has been divided in three parts. Okay, so there are three parts in the speaking test. The examiner is going to ask you different questions in different parts. Part one is where they're going to ask you to introduce yourself, or they're going to ask you some simple questions, which are definitely going to revolve around you. Some example questions could be, what's your name, how do you where do you work, or what do you study, what kind of music do you listen to, what kind of movies do you watch. Simple questions are going to be asked in part one. Once you are done with part one, which is going to last for about 4 to 5 minutes, they're then going to move on to part two, which is where they're going to give you a cue card. And here you're supposed to make notes within a minute on that particular cue card. And then you're supposed to talk on the topic for 2 minutes. One of our team members gave a live lecture on that, so you can watch those videos where we have where she actually pretty well explained how you're supposed to answer these cue cards, how you're supposed to speak for 2 minutes. Some cool tips and strategies were also shared, so you can watch that video later after you're done with this session. And part three, once you're done with part two, we're going to start with part three. So here the examiner will ask you some abstract questions, but these questions, part three questions, are going to be related to part two. So whatever cue card you're going to get, let's say you got a cue card related to describing a restaurant that you enjoyed eating in. So part three questions are going to be about restaurants, about cafes, right? For example, they can ask you questions like, why do people go to restaurants to celebrate special events, or why do people go outside to celebrate special events? Some of these types of questions. Are traditional restaurants famous in your country, or fast food restaurants? These kind of questions, where they would expect you to express your thoughts, express your feelings, and give a well-rounded answer in this particular part. Okay. So these were some example questions. In part three, the examiner may ask you 5 to 7 questions, okay, depending on how you are going to respond to them. It's always going to be a two-way road. If you're giving short answers, they may ask you more questions. If you're giving lengthy answers, well-rounded answers, I would say, then they may ask you 5 to 7 questions only, right? This part three is going to be for 4 to 5 minutes, so make sure you give extended answers. And yeah, I am going to share some important tips today, where you can actually use these methods to extend your answers. Okay. Before I move to the next part, I have a question for all of you. So my question is, has any one of you already taken the IELTS test? Maybe a diagnostic test, or the actual IELTS test? Please type yes or no in the public chat. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. All right. So let's start discussing part three in detail now. So part three is basically known as topic discussion, and the name itself suggests whatever topic you're going to get in the cue card, they are going to ask you more questions about it. They're going to discuss things about that cue card, right? So, like I said, they will ask you different types of questions, and these types of questions would encourage you to express your thoughts and express your feelings. Okay. Now, what type of questions can they ask you? I can give you a couple of examples. There are some common types of questions. One is opinion-based question. Then we also have hypothetical questions. They can ask you something to do with changes. So opinion-based questions, typical wording required over there. I mean, typical wording that they're going to use over there would be something like this: Do you think? Or what is your opinion about it? These kind of words and language could be used. For example, they can ask you a question like, do you think people in your country are less healthy than they used to be, right? Do you think people have started traveling more than they used to? These kind of questions. Do you think it is important to have a balanced diet, or it is important to work out properly, right? So these kind of questions are known as opinion based questions. You are supposed to answer these questions properly. So there's this method that I share with all my students when they're asked to give a well-rounded answer. I ask them to use this method. This method is known as the sandwich method. I am typing it for you. Please have a look at the chat box. This is known as the sandwich method. Now, what is this sandwich method? So in this sandwich method, just imagine, how does a sandwich look? It has got two layers of bread, top and bottom. You've got the layers of bread, and in between these two layers, what do we have? We have all those ingredients. You are going to write down something. You're going to speak in a similar way. So you're going to first of all paraphrase the question. That's going to be the top layer, or you're going to give your opinion in the beginning itself, right? Then you're going to give the main ingredients, which is nothing but your explanation about that particular question, right? Once you're done giving your explanation, once you're done giving an example over there, you are supposed to give your opinion again. So you're supposed to reiterate your opinion. This is how you're going to use this method, the sandwich method. I'm pretty sure until and unless I give you an example, you'll not be able to understand. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's pick up this question. So there's this question that I had for all of you. Let's say the question is, do you think people in your country are less healthy than they used to be? Right? Let's say this is the question. So if I were to use this sandwich method, how would I what would I have done? I will first of all rephrase the question and give my opinion. And to give your opinion, you can use certain phrases. For example, you can say, "In my experience," that's that's how you can start. Or you could say, "I believe that." Okay. or I reckon that, right? That's how you can start giving your opinion. Or I agree. I agree would be too formal, I would say. You could use, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that, or in my experience, use such phrases. Can you think of some other phrases of for starting your answer for opinion based questions? Type in the chat box if you can. How would you start giving your opinion? Hmm. So I give you a couple of examples. You can start by saying personally, or as far as I'm concerned, or I believe that, as per my understanding. Very good, Salesh. We could use that. So that's the first thing you're going to do, right? So once you start with that, you could then say, you could also use the word personally, by the way, right? For example, personally, I think that health of many people is worse than it used to be. What did I do over here? I gave my opinion and I rephrased the question. This is the top layer. This is the first layer of that sandwich method, remember? Now you start giving an explanation to it. This is where you're going to explain why do you think that is, or why do you think that health of many people is worse than it used to be, right? That's how you can start. Yes, Harjot, I can say in my viewpoint, I can say that's my understanding, or as far as I am concerned, you could say that also. Very good. So yeah, once you're done with that, you start explaining things. This is where you're going to use examples. You can talk about your experiences, right? For example, you could say that it is mainly due to obesity caused by an unhealthy diet, right? Now you explain what kind of unhealthy diet, or why being overweight is going to cause problems, right? Maybe because of other because of these fast food restaurants, people are more inclined towards ordering food online, and they're having a lot of food at home. They're not even going outside. So how would it affect the health altogether? So you start giving explanation for that. Now this explanation, you could use some complex sentences for that. You could use some compound sentences as well. So try to have variation in the sentence structures also. Don't just keep using simple sentences. Okay. So when you start giving your answer, then you're supposed to give an explanation to it. How do we give explanation? By explaining our point of view, and then you're also going to use examples. Once you're done with this part, then you have to reiterate your opinion. You're again going to use the same, that last layer is going to be your rephrasing of the question. For example, here now you could say, in my opinion, many people in my country are less healthy these days because of their unhealthy lifestyle. That's how you conclude your answer. So you remember in the beginning, I told you that you have to give a well rounded answer. For opinion based questions, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay. I'll type it for you in the public chat, how you're supposed to start, right? So if they ask you opinion based questions, where the typical language is, do you think, or shall we use writing method to answer the questions? No, Shagun, this is going to be a face to face interaction. This is always going to be a face to face interaction. Okay. So you're supposed to answer these questions for the examiner, right? So what are we supposed to do? We're going to use this sandwich method where you first paraphrase the question. Okay. Paraphrase the question. That's the first thing you're going to do. And you're going to include your opinion. Paraphrase the question and give your opinion, right? The second thing, you're going to explain. Use the explanation method. Okay. Explain. Use examples. Okay. Use examples. And the last thing is again that you have to re-answer the question, and you have to use your opinion. Okay. One second. Answer the question and you give your opinion. Opinion should be included. So the first layer is paraphrase the question. The last layer is Answer the question where your opinion is included, especially if it is your opinion based question. Okay, are we clear with this? Is this thing clear? If yes, just type a yes over there, and in case in if you have any doubts about this, please feel free to ask. Okay, all right, thank you for the confirmation. Sachit, do you want to ask some question? Do you want, we're not able to understand anything? So let's say they ask you another question. There's another common type of question which is known as the hypothetical question. These questions are basically, about unreal things or imaginary situations, right? So they can ask you these kind of questions also. Here, so remember this thing. If they ask you these hypothetical questions, it gives you an opportunity to use conditional sentences. What are these conditional sentences? Conditional sentences are basically where you use this word if, right? So for example, if I prepare well, I will get my desired band score in the IELTS exam. Okay, these kind of questions, these kind of sentences are known as conditional sentences. Try to use these conditional sentences if they ask you hypothetical questions, right? What are these hypothetical questions? These are about unreal or imaginary situations. I can give you an example of a hypothetical question right away. So, for example, the examiner asks you something about traveling. Let's say the topic given to you in the cue card was something to do with traveling. Describe a journey that you went on, you remember really well. So, in part three, they can ask you such questions. If tourists stopped visiting your area, what effect would it have on the economy? Right? If tourists stopped visiting your area, what effect would it have on the economy? So, how can you start your answer? Remember the sandwich method? The sandwich method was paraphrase the question and give your opinion, right? If they ask you to give your opinion, if your opinion is required, otherwise, you just paraphrase the question. Once you're done with that, you give an explanation. Mahinder, I'm explaining the sandwich method again. So, yeah, okay. So once you're done paraphrasing the question, then you move on to giving an explanation about it. Okay, so you explain why do you think that is, and then if you want to use examples, feel free to use examples because this will again help you extend your answers. Using an example is important. Your examples could be from your personal life, your personal experiences, or you could also cook up examples. The task is to speak and extend your answer. You could do it by by just cooking up examples or cooking a story over there. Okay, once you're done giving an example and an explanation, you're supposed to rephrase the question again. That's how it is going to be a well-rounded answer. Okay, so what was the question? The question was, if tourists stopped visiting your area, what effect would it have on the economy? So if I were to answer this question, how would I do that? I would say if tourists stopped visiting the beautiful beaches where I live, it would have a terrible impact on the economy or on our local economy. So I paraphrased the question. Now I'm going to give examples, or I could explain. So, for example, what effect would it have on the shops, the local shops in my locality? Like whatever shops are there, I could explain things about them. For example, I could say that lots of shops that sell beachwear and souvenirs, they will go out of business. Or what else do we have on beaches? Something that you can think of. What else would you want to include in this answer? So we have shops which sell souvenirs. Do you know what are souvenirs? Gifts that you can actually take for your loved ones. Small gifts, right? What other things would you like to include in this answer? Let's hear it out from you. Yeah, I mean, that's a nice way of starting. Yes. But I was talking about the explanation part. What effect would it have on the economy if water activity? Very good, Salish. Yeah. Water sports, they would go out of business. Even they would not get a lot of business if tourists stopped visiting there. Can you give me some examples of water sports? Hmm. Okay. What else? Even the local cafes, do you think they are going to get affected? Local cafes and restaurants over there? Yes or no? Shagun, if examiner asked me any question about which I have idea, like lack of content, so how can it be improved? Okay. So, Shagun, this is a very common thing. Many students think that they do not have a lot of knowledge about those questions that the examiner may or may ask them in the actual test. So the best way to deal with this situation is prepare well in advance. Go through as many topics as possible, common topics that they pick up for IELTS speaking part, right? Go through as many topics as possible. You could do that. And then start practicing at least with one partner. Find a partner and then start doing role plays with them. Maybe you could become an examiner and then someone else can become, the student. You can switch roles after some time. Okay, they can ask you some questions. You're supposed to answer those questions for them. You can have a discussion. Okay, we can do that as well. Everything is possible. It's just that you need to be prepared, properly for this. And they won't ask you unfamiliar questions for sure. As I mentioned earlier, all these questions in part 3, they're going to be related to the topic given to you in the cue card, right? And certainly, I can give you a hack over here, Shagun. If you need time to think of how to answer your question or what you're going to speak, right? You can ask them to explain you the question. That will buy you some time, but don't use it for every question. You could say, "Could you please explain me what does this question mean?" Or "Could you please repeat the question for me?" Or "Could you explain the question?" By the time they repeat the question or they explain you the question, you will have enough time to think of what you're going to answer in the answer for them. Okay, what answer you're going to say, right? There are other methods as well. You could use these question words: why, when, what, where. You can think on these lines and then start answering questions. Jyoti, examiner can be of Indian origin or they could be foreigners. And it hard really, I mean, it shouldn't matter. Okay. Mostly they're from India, mostly. Sometimes they are from other parts of the world as well. We do provide classes for IELTS, Vishali. I'm going to share a number with you. You can get in touch with our counselors. You can call us on this number and you can get details of the live classes that we provide. There are different courses that we have to offer. We have got regular classes. We have got fast track classes. If you're working professional, then we've got weekend classes as well. You are definitely going to benefit a lot. So, in case you have any doubts, you can get in touch with our team members. I'll share the number shortly on the chat. Okay. Yep. So let me quickly tell you how you're supposed to answer this question. I'm grateful that the answers that you included. I mean, the things that you included. It was nice to hear from you. Let me quickly tell you how you're supposed to answer this question. How you're going to end this question also. So let's say the question was, if tourists stopped visiting your area, what effect would it have on the economy? You first rephrase the question. If tourists stopped visiting the beautiful beaches where I live, it would have a terrible impact on our local economy. Lots of shops that sell beachwear and souvenirs would go out of business. Water activities, people who are involved in water activities such as parasailing and boating, they would also run out of business, which would definitely have a lot of impact on the economy of our local economy, right? Or on our local economy. So I have to say that it would have a disastrous effect on the economy in my area if tourists no longer visit, here on holiday, something like this, right? So the sandwich method will help you give a well-rounded answer. Use this method in especially in your part 3 questions, especially when they ask you opinion based questions or hypothetical questions. Okay. Right. I hope you have understood how to use this sandwich method. If yes, please type a yes in the public chat. Sir, I'm in class 11. Can I give IELTS in 12th class? You can give your IELTS exam when you're in 12th grade, and I think you can actually do it in 11th grade as well, because the scores are valid for 2 years. Okay, the scores are valid for 2 years. So if you're planning to go for your undergrad, if you're planning to go for your undergrad, what you can do is you can take your test in the test right now also. 12th, when you like, I think you're going to have a lot of burden when you move to the 12th grade. So it's better you get done with your IELTS exam right now. Just in like, only if you're planning to go for your undergrad. If you're planning to go for your master's, then you should take it later. Okay, Jyoti? Right. Um, Parth, I've already mentioned what is the sandwich method. As soon as we are done with this live session, you will be able to watch the recording. Okay, so you can watch the recording later on. I'll quickly give you this thing, what and where are we supposed to use this sandwich method. So we're talking about part 3. You're supposed to use this method to give a well-rounded answer, just to make sure that you don't run out of time. And yeah, that's okay, don't worry, Parth, I am answering this question for you. Just make sure, in order to give a well-rounded answer and an extended answer, we use this sandwich method. You rephrase the question twice, like once in the beginning and once at the end, and you give explanation or you use examples to add more information to your answers, to give additional information. Okay. And if you want to learn what was the sandwich method in detail, refer to this recording once we are done with this live session. Okay. All right, guys. Do you have any questions for me? Anything that you'd like to ask? Anything to do with speaking module? Sure. So let's say they ask you this question. Um, Let me pick up one question for you, an opinion based question only, because we did opinion based questions. So, yeah, one second. Okay, so there's this question. This is an opinion based question, how to use your example, like your sandwich method. One second. So let's say the question is, do you think electronic devices make life easier or more difficult? Right? Let's say this is the question they ask you. You're going to rephrase the question first of all. Instead of using electronic devices, you're going to use the word gadgets, right? So in my opinion, gadgets have made our life much more simpler than it used to be earlier. Using smartphones has given us the ability to connect with all of us, with people around the world, with just a click of a button. And I can speak to my friends who are already living abroad. I can get connected with them. So yes, I would say that it has made our life very easy. Okay. So what did I do? I rephrased the question. I gave an explanation, used examples, then I rephrased it again. So re-answering the question is also important. Okay. I hope it's clear, Parth. Gaurav, we have already done this. I would request you to go through this recording again. Okay. You're welcome, Parth. Jyoti, I would highly recommend you to use these Cambridge books. Okay, we have got so we have uploaded these Cambridge books in our study material, and yeah, once you enroll with us, formally enroll with us, you'll get. I mean, so yeah, we have got a lot of Cambridge material as well. It's also available on the internet. You can refer to that. Okay. How long do we have to speak for? So speak for at least 30-40 seconds for each of these answers. Okay, Parth? Yeah, if you want to extend your answer, you could do that. There's no problem in that. Cool, Parth. I wish you all the best. All right, guys. Thank you for joining in. I am going to take your leave now, and I wish you all the best with your preparation. In case you have any questions for us, feel free to contact us on this number. I'm dropping this number on the public chat. You can save this number later for your reference. Okay. All right, guys. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you for joining in. It was nice interacting with you. Thank you, Sailesh. Bye bye.